Hello, I'm here to talk about Select and Mask for making selections in Photoshop. When Select and Mask first arrived on Photoshop, it was pretty ineffective, frustrating, it was worthless. Now it's pretty good, so I'm going to show you some of the features that it can, or some of the things it can do for you. Also, note that I'm working in Photoshop 2020. If you're not working in this version of Photoshop, you may not have all the features that I'm going to show you. So I've opened up, and if you download the assets, you'll have Select and Mask Demo and Ducky. I have those open, and we're going to start with Ducky here. So I'm going to go right to Select and Select and Mask. This is a whole new workspace just built for Select and Mask. So on this side I have some panels. In my Properties panel on this side I have some tools. And we're going to start over here at the Properties panel and show you what's going on. So I have this View mode where I can change the opacity slider back and forth. And we're going to start with the View mode really quickly. Let's just try to do this the easy way. Okay, I'm going to select the top tool here, which is the Quick Selection tool, just like the one in Photoshop. And then I'm going to go to the top here and I see this thing that says Select Subject, just like in Photoshop. So I'm going to click Select Subject and see what kind of a job it does selecting the duck out of this background. Remember, any selection that uses these kind of instant magic tools requires that there be some kind of contrast between the subject and the background. And when that's diminished or not available, then you're going to have to go in and either paint or use other tools to make that happen rather than these kind of automatic tools. So this didn't do a terrible job. I'm going to Command plus to zoom in a little bit here. Didn't do a great job back here in the tail feathers, but otherwise it did a pretty good job. But I'm going to undo that. So Command Z to undo it, and I'm going to go just with our tool, our Quick Selection tool, and I'm going to start at the beak here, and it works just like it does in Photoshop. I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. I want to go a little bit at a time, kind of close to the edge, and we'll wait for it to catch up with me. If it goes outside the lines, or if I get the background for some reason I don't want it, I'm going to Command Z and then do that again. So this may be a little bit slower than Select Subject, but I think it's a little bit more accurate. So I'm going to, I don't know if I want all that. Just going to go along there. Okay, so it grabbed all that water back there, but look how well it did in here compared to Select Subject. I don't have all that water showing between here. Now this is going to be a problem because there is a really low contrast here. So I'm going to switch this to minus so I can try to get rid of some of this outside water. And if I make my brush smaller, it selects less color and it's a little bit more accurate when I'm picking these things out. Whoops. Yeah, we might have to just come in here with a paintbrush and get rid of or modify this. Okay, I'm going to switch it back to plus again, and I'm going to grab that piece and hopefully that piece. That's not too bad. I'm going to go with that. There's our basic outline right now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on. Okay, I have View, Marching Ants, which is worthless. I have Overlay, which is very helpful. And Overlay, I can change the opacity, just like with the onion skin, and see some of the background. So if I'm kind of trying to paint this stuff back in or find pieces that are missing, this is a good way for me to look through this color. And I can change the color to another color, just use the color picker here, and pick some contrasty color so I can see that background. All right, that is Overlay. On Black is exactly what it sounds like. Puts the subject on a black background. The next one down is on white. And I flip through these fairly regularly, except for Marching Ants. I use them all. Black and white shows me just the mask itself. So this is what a mask looks like. Where it's white, it reveals. Where it's black, it conceals. So this is what's going to show, and the background's going to not be erased, but just covered up. Okay, and on layers, we'll talk about more when we do the next piece, but it's going to show me what it looks like on the background layer, and I have no background layer, so it's just giving me that transparent checkerboard look right now. All right, so I'm going to start. Let's put this on black and white, and we'll take a look at what edge detection does. So edge detection, yeah, let's go to the tail. Edge detection, I'll go to overlay. Edge detection looks at places around the edge that you already have and asks Photoshop, is there a better place to put this? Now it goes all the way around the outside. So when I open this up to 30, it goes all the way outside of the line you already had, and then Photoshop tries to find a better place to put that edge. Now let's look at the black and white version and see what it did. So it's a little confusing. So it picked up some of this light color in the waves. It did a nice job of picking up the tip of those feathers, but if I put the radius down smaller, I'm kind of back in the same boat that I was before. And this is happening all the way around the outside of this at the same time. So it's going all the way around and doing the same modification to the whole outside of it. So if you have stuff that's soft and stuff that's sharp, Photoshop tries to be able to tell the difference between the two things. Like the neck is soft and fuzzy, the face is sharp. If I turn this up, it starts to dig into the face a little bit. But if I turn on Smart Radius right here, it tries to adjust the radius according to what Photoshop thinks that edge is, smart, sharp or not sharp. So it helps a little bit. In some cases it works brilliantly, in some cases it does not. I'm going to turn it on, off and on here so you can see what happens. So it tries, but still not fantastic. So I'm going to turn all of this off right now, and then we'll take a look at some of the other stuff here. As I move down, I have smooth, which does what you might expect it to do. It smooths out the edge of that whole mask. I have feather, and you think the duck has feathers. Now look at it, really feathery. Okay, and then contrast does what you think it does. It contrasts up the edge, and you can turn it up so hard that you have just a really crunchy, hard edge. Shift edge moves the edge in or out from where it is now. So I'm going to show you the overlay version of this. And we'll move that a little bit. There we go. Okay, so when I move the edge in, it comes in from where it was. And if I shift it the other way, it moves it out from where it was. So it's nice for getting rid of a little bit of a halo. In fact, I think this one, if I go to on white, see the dark edge? If I use shift edge in a little bit, it kind of gets rid of that. But it also does some other damage other places because this is a global refinement. It happens to the whole image. Okay, so moving down the list, I have output selection, output settings, and then we have ways to output. So there's a whole bunch of ways to output. We're only going to worry about the first two. If I want to output to a live selection, the marching ants, then I use selection. If I want it to be a layer mask, which is what is easiest for me, I'm going to just click, make this into a layer mask, and I'm going to say OK. So here it is, my layer mask. My duck is all outlined and he's ready to be put into his new environment or whatever I'm going to do with him. I would like to show you what the layer mask looks like. This you can write down in your sketchbook. This is a nice shortcut to remember. If I click on Option and click on the icon of the mask, it lets me see the mask. If I click it again, holding down Option, it lets me see the masked area. So the other thing I can do is if I hold down Shift and click on the mask, it temporarily disables it, puts a red X through it, which is really cool looking, and then I can see the whole background so I can turn it on and off that way, right? So I want to come back and see if I can fix these little areas in the tail and some other stuff. So I'm going to go back into Select and Mask, and I can do that in a couple ways. I can right click on this, right click on that, and pick Select and Mask, which is right here. I can always go up to Selection and pick it from the same place that we had it before. So I'm just going to right click here and say Select and Mask, And now we are back with a white background on here. And I'm going to go to the overlay mode. And I'm going to come over here. Actually, I might be able to see this better in black and white on black. So we'll do that. Here's my problem where the water's creeping in here. So remember the edge detection when I moved the radius this way? It did kind of a good job in some areas, but it affects everything because it's global. Well, I have the same thing available over here. Second tool down, Refine Edge Brush tool. So this is a new one for you. If I click on this, it does the same thing this does, only it does it on the end of a brush. So the size of the brush matters. You want the brush size to be a little bit bigger than the area that you want it to look at, and you don't want to do too much at one time. So I'm going to click here and drag over this area, and I like the way that that handled all that. There's a little chunk of green in here, so I'm going to get that to get fixed up. That's going to get fixed up. Look at what a nice job this is doing. I love this tool. I love it. Look at that. Happy bird. Very happy bird now. Okay, so all those little chunks that we missed from before, it's not going to work down here because this is, needs to be, worked on by hand. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look. I just want you to see. This is just the edge of the mask, and this is the auto mask thing, right? So if I take this brush and I run it down here, what a nice job it does of looking in that area and saying, Photoshop, what do you think you can do for me here? Can you make this better? And Photoshop says, sure I can. Watch this. So I'm going to go show you the original. If I click this, it'll show me the original mask that I started with when I reopened it. Better, right? Okay. Anyway, I'm very excited about all this. You can tell. All right. I'm going to say OK to this. It's going to make it's going to refine my layer mask. So now my layer mask is looking better. So a layer mask. Remember, if I want to see the layer mask itself, Option click on it. If I want to temporarily disable it, I'm going to Shift click on it. But if I want to do a quick edit, like see the bottom of his lip is missing here. I guess that's his lip. And then I don't know what this is. Is that a wart? I want to get rid of this. I want to fill that in and I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to do it with my paintbrush. I'm going to pick black to paint because black conceals and white reveals. So I'm going to click on the mask itself. And here's what's really happening. I'm going to click on Option to show you what's going on. When I paint with black, it's covering that stuff up, all right? So I don't have to do it while I'm looking at the mask. As long as I have the mask selected, I can click on it right here and make quick edits. And I do this all the time. I'm going to switch this to white now, just by clicking that little back and forth arrow, make my mask a little, or make my brush a little smaller. And there we go. Very nice. That's all I wanted to do. Oh, there's a little transparent in the beak. Nice, nice beak. He's going to send me a bill for that, I'm sure. All right, let's switch to the other one.